All right, folks. Well, hi, Selena. How are you? We're gonna jump in and start this session. We like to record these, so if you didn't know already, we have access to a YouTube channel. So if for any reason you were to miss a coaching, or if ever there comes a time where you need a specific set of knowledge, my YouTube channel has a whole library full of previous coachings that you can go review. And so we normally post those either later in the day or the following day. And the library is packed full of all kinds of different trainings. Even if you just want to know how to write an offer, at least in Columbus. For the Kentucky folks, we're actually adding from Steve, our broker down there, a list of videos that will help guide you on how to write offers within your specific jurisdiction down in Kentucky. So please refer back to the YouTube channel if ever you need anything. Today is group choice coaching. So it simply means let's have a powwow. Let's talk about what's on your mind. And if you don't have anything, then I may have some things that can fill some time that might be of value to y'all. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to shut up.
So one question that I had is on one of the email blasts that I sent out. I went back and looked at the open rates and all that. And there was someone that had clicked the unsubscribe. And I know that anything like smart plans that I try and send, they won't send to that person. But how do you I want to make sure that it's noted in there somewhere so that I can see it. So that if I went to send a one-off email, that I know that person doesn't want to receive.
In your notifications on command, the little bell up top, that should be where it states person has unsubscribed or texted stop.
Okay.
Let me see. I'll share my screen and we can check together. While I'm pulling this up, I just went away from my TD Ameritrade page, and that sparked something. Y'all are 1099 contractors, basically. So you need to be making sure that you're distributing funds and saving funds for your taxes for next year. With every closing that you get, my recommendation is to save 30% in a separate file so you don't touch it right when you get that commission check. So please make sure that you're doing that, because I'm gonna have to pay the tax man here real soon, and it's gonna be quite the burden, but as long as we have set aside money for that, we'll be all the better off. All right, up here on the top of my screen, there's this bell. Okay, so I send this person, Nicole Mitchell. I don't know who that is. It's a lead that we've received at some point, but we send them smart plans. And anytime they respond, they'll either respond, stop, unsubscribe, whatever. It should unsubscribe them from the actual plan and show up here. But this person, we send a note to asking them if they're still looking, I'm assuming, and it says, nope, filing bankruptcy, like I have said before, thanks. So she's clearly perturbed that we're talking to her, but I don't know this person. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna go in there and manually turn them off. Now, if you did know the person, Selena, then you can, you should be able to actually go in there and write a note for that to remind you. I would just do that, is go into their file and write a note so that you know that anytime you send that person something, that you should maybe reach out first and make sure it's okay.
Okay.
I think you might also receive an email notification, but I am not the tech guru. That is probably more in line with a Cody question.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there was some way to, and maybe I need to create a tag for it or something. I don't know. That makes sense. Shoot.
Good
And I had
question.
another question for you, and then I lost it.
It's all good. While you think of it, what other questions do we have? For what other ideas, or what roadblocks are you facing, or what successes are you having? Anybody?
So I'm getting ready for a closing on April 1st and April 4th both. And I didn't realize that I needed to put a form in to get the earnest money back. And then I didn't know who that was supposed to be written out to and stuff like that. So I had to sit down yesterday with Tammy, and we went over that form and like the process of like what closing is going to look like and stuff like that. I had like a general idea, but I didn't realize like who was going to be getting paid to what, like, you know, how many checks there were going to be and stuff like that. I had just like a general idea.
Yeah, well, while we're talking about closings, we can talk a little bit more about that. I know, Alex, you've not had a closing yet, and Emma might not in person. We haven't had too many closings along here, so just so we all know, at least here in Ohio, and I'm going to assume that it's the same down in Kentucky, when you're on the buy side or the sale side at a closing, you must take your valid U.S. identification. So I always like to, a few days prior to closing, and then again the day of closing, I like to send, this is the system that we've got, I like to send my folks a note saying, hey guys, closing's approaching. Or if it's the day of, hey guys, closing's here, congratulations ahead of time, here's the things you'll need. So number one is always a valid, I always just say US driver's license, and say valid because during quarantine and COVID stuff, they were slow to get valid, replace your driver's license, right? And that actually caused some trouble. Fortunately, we were able to fight through those things. So valid US driver's license. If they're on the buy side, to Emma's point, if there was earnest money involved, about a week out, I like to reach out to the MCA and send in the form. It's the earnest money request form. And the MCA will know exactly who to write that to because you deposit it with someone's name on it. They pull it out of their account and put it right back to that person's name in most instances. Now, some title companies here recently are holding earnest money checks as well. So if, depending on who you send it to, if you send it to title, they already have it. Boom, done deal. If you send it to our market center or your broker, then you have to request it back. Aside from that, all you need to do is make sure you have your utilities turned over. So if closing is today and possession is today, I want to make sure that a few days out, my buyers are calling the utility companies and verifying that utilities are going to be transferred into their name so that there's no lapse in coverage. So you'd hate to move in and not have electricity, right? On the sales side of things, the things that you're required to have are, again, a valid ID. And on the sales side, it's a little bit easier. There's fewer papers to sign. But I always encourage my folks to bring a blank check to whatever bank account they want their funds to be wired to. And the conversation ahead of time, because we want to try and get ahead of any questions that anyone might have. So my conversation is, hey, if we're going to wire your funds to you, then you need to expect about 2 to 3 hours after the official closing to receive those funds. And if closing doesn't happen until 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, you're likely not going to receive them until the next business day. So if you close at 5 o'clock on a Friday, you're not going to receive those funds most likely until Monday. Otherwise, I just prepare them for how many signatures they're gonna have. So on the buy side, it's between 40 and 50 here in Ohio. That's crazy. And then on the sale side, it's much less. It's much less dense. I believe it is a US requirement now, that if you're buying a home and your cash to close is larger than $10,000, you must wire that to the title company. Emma or Selena, is that the case down in Kentucky?
I actually don't know. I'm still learning about those things.
Okay, so if we might, I can ask Tammy, but I think it's a US thing, not just an Ohio thing. Basically to prevent fraud, there's a lot of people trying to steal wires, basically wire fraud. So if your closing is requiring your buyers to bring more than $10,000 for down payment and closing costs, then you're going to want to get them to wire those funds. I normally say schedule a wire transfer a day or two in advance so that you're not scrambling last minute. Or if you close in the evening, you can go to your bank and wire, 9 a.m. or so. The funds normally take, again, 2 to 3 hours to show up wherever they're supposed to be. So just something to keep in mind. But as far as like what you need to bring to closing, I'll answer your question here in a second. As far as what you need to bring to closing, you need to bring yourself and your phone, because you're going to want to take a photo of the successful closers and celebrate on social media once that officially closes. You're also going to want to bring the earnest money check with you if you have that. And then I always like to bring a closing gift of some sort. So I would recommend, no more than $50, something that speaks to you and speaks to the buyers or sellers to celebrate. $50 won't break you, and it will give them something to remember you by. And then also, lastly, a handwritten note, just thanking them for trusting you and wishing them, well. Emma, what were you gonna say?
If I have somebody just straight out writing a really large check, they don't need to prepare for anything other than bringing their checkbook, right?
Yeah, if it's a cash offer, I would do a wire personally, but I wouldn't want to carry around
stuff like that, because he's like, oh, the damn dogs. Because he's so old and stuff, and he's like, I don't trust the internet and all that good stuff.
Well, I hate to say it, but if your cash to close, if it's a cash deal and it's over $10,000, I'm 99.9% sure you're gonna have to get him to wire it.
Okay.
He may be able to go to his bank and have his bank do the wire for him. That might be an option so that you don't have to go online.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. The title company will send you wiring instructions. You just tell your dad or whoever it is, you're gonna take the wiring instructions into your bank and just say, here, help me. And they do this all day, every day. There might be a small fee to wire the funds, might be $15 to $40, depending on how much.
And then another thing here in Kentucky, I talked to Bluegrass Land Title the other day for coffee, and they said you have to have 2 forms of ID, and that can be like your social or like your insurance card or something like that, but it has to be 2 forms.
Okay. Yeah, certain title companies are a little different. That's good to know. So that's closing in a nutshell. Basically, it's a big celebration. Don't get stressed out about it. When you're sitting there at the closing table, you need to do nothing. I like to go just as support. I might chime in with a little joke or two during the closing. And then afterwards, you celebrate, you kiss babies and shake hands and take pictures so that you can market this success and this gleeful experience so that you can send that on to social media and thousands of eyeballs can see it. Any other questions about closings? What you need? Okay. What other topics do we want to cover, guys? What I'd love to hear from somebody. What's going really well right now for just one person? What's going really well in maybe promoting your business?
I don't know if it's going well or not necessarily, but I've been to a couple local shops the past few mornings for like coffee and breakfast, intentionally to leave my business cards in the little business card area. And while I don't think that that's really going to do too much, there's still that small hope there.
I'll tell you a story of somebody who's published in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So this book here, otherwise known as the Bible of Real Estate, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, MREA, you hear it referred to all the time in Keller Williams circles. So the young lady, she's an older lady now, who works at our office, her name's Jill Rudler. She's published in this book. She's been quoted in the book. So she knows what she's talking about. When she first got her real estate license as a young thing in here in Westerville, Ohio, she would take her business card everywhere she went, and she would just literally leave it on counters like you might be doing, Emma. Every place has those little drop boxes for hey, win a free dinner if your card is drawn. Like, always have your card on you. Always leave it somewhere, because Emma, to your point, you never know if it's going to work or not, but it certainly will not work if you don't do it. I love it. I think that's an activity that you're not probably going to be able to quantify its success, but it's an activity that will lead to something in the future. Even if somebody just says, hey, I was in a coffee shop and I saw your card. Okay, cool. Well, that sparked a conversation. So it was well worth the 0.02 cents that card cost. Good idea, Emma. What other things are we doing? Maybe other things that we're not so sure if they're being successful or not.
I've been going on Facebook and commenting on people's posts that I normally wouldn't. And then, like, if they comment back to me, then I'll like move the conversation over to like our private DMs. And eventually, most of the time, people will ask me, you know, like about real estate, or just say like congrats or whatever. So then it's kind of a way to talk about me and what I'm doing as well. You know, it hasn't paid off yet, I don't think, as in like I haven't gotten a direct client from it, but at least, you know, it's catching up with somebody and just kind of making them feel comfortable with me. That way, if they do feel like, or if they do have a real estate need or know somebody, then they'll feel comfortable sending them my way.
I think it's fantastic. And one tip here, folks, make sure you're checking your social media messengers pretty frequently. So I was on Instagram this week. A former client of mine said last week, she texted me, she said, hey, I gave your name to somebody who's looking to buy soon. Hope they reach out. Okay, cool. Well, I didn't hear anything. I go in like literally a week later, my Instagram, and in the spam, like the junk folder of my messages. So on Instagram, if you get on in the top right, there's this little messenger icon thing. Under the requests, it says requests over here. There were two things, and one of them was a request to message from the person that was referred to me. And I let it sit there for 2 weeks because it didn't come up as like a notification. So always be checking those and approving them, obviously, as quick as possible. Fortunately, I texted the person who referred me. I said, hey, I sent this person a response, but like a week later, I hope it's not too late. And luckily the person, I got her phone number and it all worked out, but just something to consider. But I love the idea of spending time, like you're already going to be on Facebook and social. Statistically speaking, everyone in the world and their mom spends time on Facebook and social media. So if you're going to be there, why not try to make it a business objective? You know, if I were to challenge everyone, I would challenge everyone every single week to just maybe reach out to 5 people on Facebook or Instagram, like an actual direct message. Or you could even go a step further if we're looking to systematize this. And if we're following the DTD2 model of follow-up, you could take all your A's and your W's one week, and you just go through social media and message all your A's and W's. So Barbara Williams would be a W. Jack Anderson would be an A. I'm going to reach out to Jack and Barbara this week, and I'm just going to send them a note saying, hey, it's been a while since we talked. How are things going? Period. You'll spark up a conversation with probably half of the people you send them to, because half the people are like me and don't check your DMs and stuff quick enough. But you're going to have access to a lot more people than most likely are in your database, because odds are Jack and Barbara are probably not in your database because they're just like acquaintances from a long time ago. If you're looking for an exact script, one thing that's helped me in the past is, hey, Jack and Barb, I have a huge goal this year to talk to every single person that I'm friends with on social media. So I'm just reaching out to say hi and to ask how you're doing so far this year. And what I found is by doing that, a lot of people respond like, wow, that's a lofty goal, or, oh, that's a really cool thing you're doing. I'm doing great. How are you? And then boom, I'm say, well, I'm doing great. I'm a realtor now. What do you do? And just turn it around. Just a quick, brief little interjection of me being a realtor. And then boom, it counts as a real estate contact for the week. So that's a positive. I'm planting the seed, and I'm going deeper on them and getting to know them and where we have commonalities now. So it's just a slow-paced conversation. Good job, Lauren. It's a great idea.
So I have a question with those like touches or whatever. So say like I do that and I talk to, 5 people a week or 10 people a week or whatever. And maybe one of them is like, yeah, I see you're in real estate now, or like, well, what are you doing for a living now? But like, you don't actually talk about it. Is that still considered like a touch?
If the topic of real estate at all comes up, it's a real estate touch. So you're at your one of your 100 is your goal. Your 100 is your goal. Okay. Let's not mince words. 100 real estate contacts each week is our goal. And Lauren, you were on the call that was led by Ben Bolton. I sent it to everybody a couple days ago, I think. What did he say about the number of touches that you're supposed to get? Did he talk about that?
He did. 100 is kind of like a general rule of thumb, but it really just depended like on your goal, how big your team was, and things like that. But yeah, 100 was your rule of thumb. But like he ran through an example with somebody else on the call, and theirs was more than that because their goal was bigger. So theirs was 42 a day. So yeah, it just depends.
And then he broke it down to where he systematized it in what kind of calls, if it was like distressed buyers, expired buyers, FISBO.
Very good. We try to systematize everything, but Emma, to answer your question at a high level, if they say, hey, I see you're a realtor now, boom, you got them. You got one. Now, if you only talking to the person about their kids, that does not count as a real estate contact, because that has no, it may lead to a conversation about real estate, but for now, you didn't broach the subject.
Okay, thank you.
What's maybe not going so well, or what are you struggling with? What are some struggles that we're seeing? Be honest. Vulnerability is rewarded.
So I think like for me, is setting up the smart plans and making sure that like I keep wanting to make it sound like they're coming for me and to, tweak the wording. And just trying to make sure that I have all those set up and who they should apply to and when, I guess.
Yeah, to add on to that, I've kind of been struggling the same way, but also in the aspect of like, am I touching them way too often, or am I not, doing it enough? Like, I don't know the right amount sometimes. I don't want to be a bother to people.
That is the
I'm
number
having the
one
same issue.
concern that realtors or anybody in sales is going to have, especially your first year, is we want to say no for people. We want to be nice, right? And what would be nice in Johnny's mind is different than what would be nice in Josh's mind. The thing to remember here is that when we talk about touches, so we're talking about 100 real estate touches a week, okay? But then there's a different kind of touch program. It's called a 36 touch program. According to the MREA book, that red book that I just held up, we're supposed to get 32 or 36 touches of each person in our database every single year. Why is that? It's because mathematically and scientifically speaking, back when this book was released in 2001, it took 36 touches for you to be in the top 2 realtors' names in a person's mind. If you're not hitting somebody 36 times in a year, you will not be top of mind with them. That number has actually increased over the years, and how many touches you're supposed to get to stay relevant in somebody's mind. Why would that be? Well, social media drowns out all the noise. There's so much noise there. Emails have gone directly to spam. There's so many people just mass texting, spam emailing. You get so many different phone calls every day, it seems like, from people selling you on stuff. So now that number is not really 36. It's probably closer to, the number that I heard was something like 60. 60 touches in a year is what it's going to take for you to stay top of mind, relevant in somebody's mind. Don't let that scare you. Let that empower you to say, I don't care how I feel about this. I'm going to trust the numbers, and I'm going to just send it. I'm going to send it. And if somebody unsubscribes, I'll be butthurt for a second. I can't lie. One of my best friends unsubscribed my first year from a drip can, a smart plan basically that I sent out. And it hurt me for a second. And then I just moved on, and I realized it shouldn't ruin my day. They just didn't want to hear over the top information from me. Don't think it has to be perfect. So Selena and Lauren, probably one of the things I would imagine you're struggling with is you want it to be perfect. You want it to be perfect before you send it out. You want it to, every line, every word to be proofread by you. I'll tell you this, I'm 4 years into this. Complete honesty, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you send either, as long as you're sending something. I know that sounds bad, but year 1, we have nothing but time to overthink it. I was in your shoes. Trust me, I'm a perfectionist. My first year was hell because I wanted to have my fingerprint and my stamp of approval on every single thing. I almost believe that command is more meant for the mature realtor who's been in the industry a few years, because we realize this is a set it and forget it type thing, where this is a huge time save, and it's allowing me to stay top of mind even if I may not think it's perfect. So to kind of go towards Lauren, what you were saying is we don't want to be too obtrusive into people's minds, or into people's inboxes or text threads. You're limiting your earning potential. And the way that somebody once told me was that you're doing a disservice to people if you're a realtor and you're not touching these people as many times as you possibly can, because eventually when the time comes for them to need a realtor, they're not going to go with you and they're going to get lackluster service. So if you take that approach and you take that mindset to say, like if Lauren is about to send a message out to some people, but she just sent one last week. Well, she says, well, if I don't send this, I'm doing a disservice to my friend here because I'm not providing them good value. And eventually they're going to be hosed by some crappy realtor. You have to be willing to, let's just face it. Nobody here has a crap ton of closings. You have to do things differently than your peers. Guess what, Lauren and Selena, your peers are saying before they click the send button? They're saying, nope, don't want to overwhelm them, so I'm not going to send it. We have to be different. 20% of all realtors do 80% of the business. Get your unfair share by doing things that other people aren't doing. Don't say no for people, I guess is what I'm getting at, and do the things that are uncomfortable. This is super uncomfortable for you. Get over it and send it. Lauren, you're on my team. Send it. Get it out there. Get whatever you're worried about. It's just your worry. The only fear is right here, and you've created that, right? And I can identify because I was in the same exact boat. And then I got over that fear and I just send it now. I hope that helps because trust me, I know I feel like I have really strong, one thing that separates me, I feel like from a lot of people is that I have really strong common sense and what's that called? Emotional IQ, meaning you can just read people and you don't want to overdo it in social settings. So I can understand where you're coming from. And I know that the numbers don't lie. And my real estate success doesn't lie because I just followed what all the people smarter than me was telling me. Like Gary Keller says, send it. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're waiting on perfection, go find a different job because you're not going to make it in real estate. Or you're not going to make it in marketing, or you're not going to make it in any sales role because there is no such thing as perfection, unfortunately. Thanks for bringing that up, Selena, because that's a challenge we all face. And from Alex, you're probably the newest person on the team or on the group call here. Like, I'm sure that we're all struggling with that. Like, do I send it? Do I not send it? Do I jump in here and take hours making it perfect? Or do I just use the library and tag people and auto send this stuff? Make it easier on yourselves, guys. You got other fish to fry.
Okay, so kind of in the same realm with the smart plans, and how do you feel about Twilio? Like, I have mixed feelings about using Twilio because of it being a different number. And
yeah, it does. It is a struggle for me too. And know this, your zip code is probably still, or your area code is probably still available. Mine's not. I can't even get a number with my own area code on it. So it's super weird for me to send mass texts out through Twilio. That being said, yes, I use it. And there's a time and a place to use it. So I use it, my team uses it when we have to send mass texts out. And it actually really works. So an example of this, we just did a reverse bold 5,000. You guys are going to do yours on April 18th, I believe. Emma and Selena, you guys definitely want to participate in that. It's a great opportunity for you to spend like next to nothing and get tons of leads out of it. So we use it to try to promote people to call in or text in, whatever we're doing. Or if we have an event coming up, we use it as one way to just mass send out stuff. So we just did a March Madness bracket challenge. And instead of me sitting there texting each person that I wanted to join, it would have taken me 3 days. I just pushed a button, click, added the link, and boom, send it to everybody. And we had a bunch of people sign up because of it. Anytime you do something like that, you're going to see a flurry of activity pretty quickly, because text messages are pretty instantaneous, right? You get it, you see it, you see the notification, you want to respond. The encouragement there is when you do send it, make sure you say, this is Selena from Keller Williams. And then you go into your spiel, because otherwise they just won't know who it is.
Gotcha. And do you know, like, because if I understand correctly, like they can call the number and you can have it to where it will forward to your actual cell phone number? Do you know how that works?
Great question. I am, you met with me last week. You know me by now. I'm not very techie. I just know the very rudimentary stuff. I don't know. Does anybody else happen to know that?
I want to say yes, that I've had that happen before, but there's this really weird like delay from it trying to transfer one number to the other.
Yeah, so sounds like a possible yes. I feel like most people respond in the manner in which they were originally reached out to. So if they get a note from you saying it's you, then they might just respond via text to you. But that's a good question that I need to get clarity on. I'm gonna write that one down. What else we got? What else are we struggling with maybe, or technical questions or philosophical questions?
Something I was talking to another agent about, a new agent this morning, when we were talking about getting leads and stuff, and we were talking about hitting up like our Facebook people we haven't talked to in a while. I was like, I'm struggling to talk to like men, not like that almost sounds weirder than it is, but more or less like a lot of like single guys will think that you're trying to flirt, even if you send like, hey, because no offense to you boys, but y'all are a little weird. And then also we're in relationships and stuff. And so sometimes reaching out without like a context could seem out of place. And so that's one of those things where I wish that there was more of a script to follow instead of just like, hey, how are you doing? Because like, in all honesty, I really don't care, I guess, to know how those men are doing, if that makes sense. I try to make it not sound as bad as it is, but like, I mean, that's the truth. And I was talking about that with another female agent today.
Let's mastermind around this. What are some thoughts for Emma? How could we approach that in not so weird fashion? Make it not weird.
I'd say one of the things that I try to do, I'm not always successful, but and it's not just with men, but with women too, that maybe I haven't talked to in a really long time, or we worked together and we weren't super close, or so it's just kind of odd that I'm reaching out, is I try and look at their Facebook and see if there's some post that they made. Maybe they went somewhere neat, or they, you know, something that I could say, hey, I seen your post about blah, 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 and then go from there. So it's more kind of like, hey, I seen this and, you know, it made me think of, you know, whatever. Or maybe they got a new job or something that you could make the conversation that, you know, I seen this post and that's what triggered me reaching out.
That's a great idea. So make it more personalized that way.
I mean, I kind of just drop the fact that like, so I'll be like, oh, Matt and I did this weekend, so that they know that I'm not trying to do something like that.
So you're not some home wrecker?
Right. It's like, oh, how's you and so? Matt and I did this weekend, and whatever. Men are going to be weird sometimes anyways.
You say that, guys. I say men are from, what is it? Men are from Venus, women are from Mars, whatever. It's we all have our own quirks, right? So in my experience, women don't always want to talk to women either. So here's my 2 cents. I think have a reason to reach out, okay? And what I mean by that is make an excuse that you can script and then just copy and paste to every single person in your database, man or woman. And that could look something like this. And Emma, you just so happen to have this thing coming up. Hey, I know it's been a while since we've connected, but through my real estate brokerage, wink, that's like a nod to a real estate contact. On April 18th, we're giving away whatever it is, $10,000 prize pack to whatever. All you have to do is call me. So here's my number. Would love to hear from you and connect. Boom. That's a less personalized, customized touch, unfortunately, but it's super neutral. You're clearly not trying to pull them away from their wife or their husband. And you're providing value because you're giving them something. And you're making it real estate right off the bat. So they know clearly why you're reaching out.
And I know too that Kelly Gann always says that, if nothing else, say my broker has challenged me to get this many contacts. Do you know anyone that I could reach out to?
Yeah, if you've attended Bold before, that's literally one of the scripts. We're having a contest right now, and I'd love to win. We're seeing how many leads we can get from our Facebook sphere. So I'm reaching out to you to see if you might know of anybody, and you will be shocked at the response you get.
I think that's the one I'm gonna use.
Make it up. Yeah, we're not doing our sure. Okay, starting now. We're doing a competition. Emma, go at it. Good stuff. This is great conversation. I love this stuff. What other stuff's going on in your worlds? Anybody reading any good books right now? Like professionally relevant books, not romance novels?
I'm getting ready to start the Happiness Advantage, the one from, what is it? Something Acor.
Oh, Sean Acor. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, expect to have your mind blown. Victor and I got a chance to listen to his keynote speech. He's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, that's where I heard about the book. So I'm like, I gotta read it. And
if anyone's interested, you can probably look up his TED Talk on YouTube. His name is Sean Acor. I want to say it's like A-K-H-O-R, something like that. Or just look up, what is it?
A-C-H-O-R.
Okay, cool. Dude's awesome, and he's got great delivery too. He's a little dry, but it's humorous. He'll keep you on your toes. One of the best speeches I've ever heard in my life. Amanda, you're a reader. Are you just reading fluff right now?
First of all, I never read fluff. But no, I am reading horror.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. I want to talk real quickly because the majority of us are first year and work with buyers. Is that fair to say? Sorry about this for Lauren and Vic. We talked a little bit about this earlier this week, but I want to talk to you about offers and like some offer strategies, what we're seeing that is winning offers right now. Emma, Alex, Selena, are any of you working with any buyers right now actively?
I am.
Yes.
Good. Good. Alex, if you're not, it'll just be a matter of time, but here's the scoop. So what you're seeing on my screen is an offer comparison sheet. I should hide the address, but anyways, this home I listed a couple weeks ago. We got 33 offers on it. And so I have an advantage being on this side of things because I see what people are doing to be creative when offering. I will also tell you that the highest price point is not the one that won this home. Okay, this is a home that we priced at $300,000. And as you can see, not one single offer, not even one, was at list price. So my first, and this is, I'm talking in the Columbus market. If you are in Kentucky and a home has been listed less than 7 days, I would anticipate the same rule being true, and that you can't just offer ask price and expect to get it. Because in most situations, we're probably in multiple offer scenarios. Now in Columbus or in Kentucky, the longer a home's on the market, it sits there, then you have leverage to maybe go in under asking price. The key is to make sure you're paying attention to the days on market, okay? So list price is important, but it's not the end all be all. It does come down at some point to terms. So one of the things that we're seeing a lot of here recently is people waiving inspection completely. So put yourself in a seller scenario. If I was to receive an offer on my home and I had two to choose from, one was a good price and had an inspection, and one was a good price and didn't have an inspection, well, which one am I going with? Duh, I'm going to go with the one that stresses me less and where there's less opportunity for them to back out of the deal. So I'm going to go with the one that waives the inspection completely. You might be saying, well, Josh, how can people do that? Like, that's not good for me to recommend for someone to do that. And I would agree with you. If you're in a situation where you're going to be, if you're pretty sure you're going to be offering on a home, make sure at the very least, you're going through that home tour with a fine-tooth comb yourself and showing the seller, the buyers, say, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a hairline crack right here, okay? It's odds are it's nothing to be concerned about. Just want to let you know. Or if you saw something that was like tear down the wall of a foundation, you'd be like, hey, I don't think we should be offering on this because likely they're going to accept an offer that's waiving the inspection and we don't want to do that. Conversely, if you have a little bit more resources and you can coordinate it with your inspector, we should all at this point in our first year, we should be setting up relationships with key vendors, inspectors being one of those. You need to get an inspector in your back pocket, somebody that you know and trust, someone that writes a really good report, and someone that doesn't freak your people out. If you don't have that person yet in your Rolodex, go start interviewing inspectors. But if you were able to take that person through with you and say, hey, Johnny, I'll pay you $50 to come walk through this home with me for 15 minutes and just give me a once over really quickly on the electrical panel, the foundation, and the plumbing that you can see from the basement. Because honestly, let's be real. Those are probably the three things that are going to hurt us eventually if we did have an inspection. So in the span of 15 minutes, he's gonna make $50. That's $200 an hour if my math serves me. And then on the way out, hey, check the roof. Like, just give me your visual. What do you see on the roof? So that is how some people are winning offers, just straight up. Because if you give me a good price and no inspection, that's waiving a ton of concern from my mind. Other things to consider. Notice how many of these offers were conventional or cash. Now, if you have a cash buyer, don't be the butthead that thinks that they can offer asking price. So I guess I was wrong. One person did offer asking price. They thought their cash pulled so much more weight that they could beat out $50,000 extra. Now, also conversely though, notice this. There was one, maybe two FHA offers out of 33. People are getting wise to the fact that FHA is tough to get through when there's multiple offers. Just something to consider. Other things here, appraisal gap. By now, I know we've talked about this a lot. Just speak up. Does anybody here need an explanation of appraisal gap? Okay, we're gonna act like you know that then. If you don't, then shoot me a text. I'll gladly explain it outside of the call. Home warranties. Here in Central Ohio, the seller typically pays for a home warranty. Don't be asking for a home warranty. Notice there's only one person on this whole first line that asked for one, and that made their offer look almost silly. Like, why would you ask me to pay almost $1,000 when you're in a multiple offer situation? Earnest money it's stupid, but it's a thing. So we play the game. You got to play the game right. First thing I always encourage y'all to do, if you're not already doing this, when you've got a buyer and they're offering, call the other realtor, get as much information as you can, ask the straight up question, how many offers do you have? And then ask the straight up question, what can you tell me about what a winning offer would look like? They'll likely tell you. Some other tricks. This person was willing to pay $10,000 of the seller's closing costs. That's huge right there. That's like adding $10,000 to this number. So this was really like a 315 offer. Other tricks. Victor is starting to do this. He's saying, hey, we'll give you $1,000 earnest money, but we're making it non-refundable to us, meaning you get to keep it if we back out for any reason. That's a really great idea. Don't go asking for washer and dryer if nobody else is doing that. If it doesn't say we'll leave the washer dryer, negotiate that after you get into contract. Because a lot of times people will cut you deals the closer they get to moving because they don't want to move this stuff. So don't write it into the contract. You're just hurting your chances. This person had a unique offer. They offered $330,000 with $20,000 appraisal gap. They actually wrote into the contract, if we don't use all $20,000, we'll put up to $2,500 towards your closing costs. There's no rules here.
I have a question about something that you just said a minute ago. When you said to walk through the house like during a showing or whatever before they, decide to put an offer and kind of look at things that would be obvious. Whenever you're in a showing, do you ever touch things? Because I know a lot of things are like bad things might be hidden. And whenever I'm in a showing, I absolutely do not touch anything because I just I don't like that.
I mean, I pull drawers open in kitchens because you want to see if they stick. If there's something that deserves being touched, touch it. Don't touch a jewelry box. Don't touch a medicine cabinet. Like the obvious things, don't move any personal belongings on a table, right? Because that would look really bad. But things like kitchen cabinets and drawers, doors, open and close every door. Make sure they all work right. But yeah, just understandably, don't touch things you shouldn't touch. That's a good question.
Okay. Well, in my basement, I accidentally kicked a hole through the drywall. Long story, but I have a giant picture hanging over where that is. And I was just wondering if that's something people cover up a lot of times with pictures.
I can't lie. We've got a closing coming up tomorrow where over top of the thermostat where he moved it, there's a little hole. And so he put a little tiny piece of art over top of it, but it was leaning. So anybody who walked down the hallway could probably see right behind it. But yeah, he did that for his own visual and didn't think to remove it. And I wasn't going to challenge him to remove it. Yeah, who knows? You might access a safe though. I don't know. I've never really moved pictures.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't want somebody to move the pictures in my house.
We've got 3 minutes left, so just to finish this up. So offer number 12 here, they wanted renter's insurance while they gave us extended possession. I don't like that, and that dropped them a hair in the grand scheme of things. This was clever. They offer number 17 wanted to give $500 moving costs, pay for the sellers to move up to $500. I thought that was really clever. This one waived fixing anything on the inspection unless it was over $15,000, which, duh, you'd probably back out then. I've received some crazy ones. I've received the promise of comic books, collectible comic books. I even had somebody offer a car. So there's no rules on this. Get creative. Yeah. But these are different things that are winning offers. So just keep these in your back pocket.
Just to clarify though, you don't recommend offering a comic book?
I recommend you doing whatever it takes to get the house. Now, that's super weird though. I'm not gonna lie. It's super duper weird because when I was on the receiving end of that, I was like, hold on. You're offering a comic book. I have no idea if this specific, it was a comic I'd never heard of. It wasn't like Spider-Man or Superman. It was something crazy, but it was clearly worth something to this person. So I'm like, hold on, you're gonna make me go do research now on how much this thing's worth and like how viable I can flip this thing and make money. Like that's asking a lot, honestly. And a
But you
car,
remember
same
them.
deal. What's that?
I said, but you remembered them.
I do, and if ever I get another offer from this guy, I'm gonna shut him down.
But I guess though, if you went into the home and realized that like that person, if it was obvious that person collected that sort of thing, then it would make more sense.
That's true. And this person didn't. It clearly didn't make sense. They were basically throwing everything they possibly could at the house. And it was just so awkward. Well, hopefully this call was helpful, guys. We covered a lot of ground, a lot of different topics. Thank you for bringing these. There is no coaching next week, so you all have a week off. Enjoy it and actually put some of the stuff to use, please. Do what Lauren's doing. Go message some people or and have an excuse to message them. And don't be afraid of stealing boyfriends and girlfriends. I promise you, you'll be okay. And also don't say no for people. When in doubt, send, push send, push send. Activity leads to dollars. Always remember that. Cool. Thank y'all. Have a great spring break while I'm out. Bye.
Enjoy.